Is this what? Oh. Well, that's going through my webcam. Hold on. Okay, I think that's working a little better. Okay. Let me go ahead and I'm just going to transition over here. Sorry about the weirdness that was happening. So my laptop wasn't charged enough. So right after I started the stream, it crashed. Why do I have a black bar down here? Where is that? Is that my table? That's not my table. Why do I have a black bar here? What the heck is going on here? What? Is that black? Oh wait, nope, that's not my mic. What is that? That's not my table, is it? No. It's too... What is it seeing? Oh! It's the monitor. Oh! Hold on, I'm just gonna push it down a little bit. There we go. Alright, sorry about that. A lot of weirdness going on this stream. Anyways, my computer went down when I got my computer plugged in again. It wouldn't let me stream anymore from that. So we're gonna be streaming from the desktop. Hopefully there's no crashes or anything today. And everything just kind of goes pretty smoothly. Turn that down just a bit. Okay. Alright. Hello, by the way, Polymer. I'm not sure if my stream is entirely working correctly. Alright, we're gonna go for it. We're gonna go for it. Hopefully everything is working correctly. Alright. Let's go ahead and switch on over here. Yes, I am back. I had some weirdness going on with my laptop. Actually, you know what? I have made some changes on my laptop and I have not pushed them, so I don't have the changes here on my desktop. So hold on. Let's first take care of that. All right, there it is. So let's first take care of that real quick. Be a quick, simple little thing to do, I think. Okay, there. Okay. Hold on, I've almost got this going. Give me 1 second. Yeah. There we go. That's perfect. And get add. Oh, and of course. You can tell how prepared I was for this stream. Oh man. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. Now that is Good. All right, let's go and pull this down now. Did I type it in wrong? I did. Okay. All right. Awesome. Now we're all good. Good morning, Square Peg. How you doing today? All right. There we go. Let me grab some water real quick. I've not had very much water today. Doing good here? Awesome. Glad to hear it. All right. Let me turn down the brightness on this just a tad. I'm having trouble seeing my monitor. Okay. I think that's a little better. All right. So, I don't think I've ever really shown much of my multiplayer stuff actually on stream before, so this is going to be really interesting. I've been working on this quite a bit. So, wait. Oh yeah, because I took out the welcome packet function I had here, so that can go out. All right, so honestly, I probably need to test this real quick. But there's one more thing that I wanted to do. So the way that this works right now is it's basically an echo server that all it does is, well, aside from echoing back, it also keeps a copy of everything that is going on within the world as a JSON, just for simplicity's sake. There's a couple things I want to fix though. Right now I'm sending, if I can find it. I think I passed it. Here we go. Right now I'm sending the whole string, and I really don't need to be doing that. I really just need to send the received data just straight up. So, let me see here. I can actually just do send line. Send line. Okay, this can actually come out. And then I haven't implemented the data check. That's something else I have to start working on. Actually, I think I started working on that. Screen is frozen. Of course it is. Hold on. Select monitor. Okay. All right, that should be working now. All right. Now I don't think I'm doing very much on this data check here yet. I think all I'm doing right now is just checking to see if all the players are alive. It's good now? Yeah, I reset it real quick just to hoping that would help. I think all I'm doing right now is just checking to see if players are alive. Which I actually need to be able to update in the client, because I don't yet have that implemented on the client side when players die. So that's going to be something else I have to do. Let me go and replace that. And then let me see. I also need, so the difficult thing that I've been trying to figure out is I need a way to send functions between clients when something happens. And so one example of this is when a player spawns in, I need to be able to make sure that all the other clients know what class this character is in and where the character is currently, so that way they can spawn it in. Which is something I'm not entirely sure how to do. At the moment, the best idea that I have is I know it's possible to run it's called set timer by, I think it's by name. There's some way to run functions by name. The only problem is I can't pass through any parameters. So I would need to find an alternate way of running through parameters. So let's do this real quick. Let's open it up real quick. Let's see what we can do in Unreal Engine on the client side real quick. Because that's kind of the big difficulty that I'm having is how do I run functions? If one client runs a function, I need to make sure that they're all able to run the function with the same parameters, or I need to find an alternate way of passing parameters to the clients. Oh, that wasn't what I meant to do. There it is. I think I accidentally alt-tabbed. I meant to switch over here. I wanted to see what was playing right now. All right, here we go. There it goes. Okay. All right. So. There we go. All right. So let's go ahead. I want to see. Let me open up my character real quick. I have a special component that I've been attaching to characters to try and just make the networking side a lot easier on the clients. This will open. Do I need to continue it? There it is. Okay. Let's edit this. Okay. Ignore all this mess here. Okay, so this needs to come out real quick because I changed this. I was before just putting it in a single string, but that is very, very messy and is probably not the best solution. So I think I have the components and actors all replicating those, so I think that's all good. All right. So function. Or you know what? I think I can run an event by name. Hold on. It might have to be an event. Set timer by event. There is this one. Event name. Call function. Name. There's a way. Here we go. Set timer by function name. Yeah, here we go. So, I mean, there is this option. Function name. Set timer for next tick by function name. This actually might be a slightly better solution too, to be honest. What is this? Oh, it's a timer. Gotcha. Timer. Function. So actually, I think I may have an idea here. Oh, this is gonna be such a. It's gonna be such a janky idea. Oh, I'm gonna have to change the way a lot of my functions are working too. Okay. So here's the thought. Let me also do just quick check. Event name. Yeah. Okay, so here's the thought then. This is going to be a bit of a messy idea, but here's my idea. I can use the set timer for next tick by function name. And the reason I want to do it for next tick is this is what I can do. All the parameters, I can find some way to store in maybe like, maybe I can have like a sub JSON for each function that gets run that specifically has the parameters. And what I can do is I can have a third JSON over here. We could call this function JSON. Okay, JSON object. Perfect. Okay, and what we can do is for each one, for each JSON, right? Because this is the basic structure of a JSON. In case you're unfamiliar, where is it? I'm in my UE5 for some reason. Here we go. Here's just an example, right? So you can have like sub within sub within sub. So my thought, I think I need to put a comma here, would be to do something like we could have one JSON within here that's just specifically called function, right? Then within here we could have like function name with just another sub JSON within it, and then in there we could have like parameter 1, parameter 2, and like so on and so forth. So what I'd want to do is anytime a function is called, hold on, because I need just a quick example that I can reference by. True. Say 1 and true. So just as an example, right? So whenever we add a function call, let's go ahead. I don't want to do this. I gotta think about this very carefully. So the inputs I would need, I probably shouldn't have gotten rid of that. I would need a function name. And I would also need function parameters. So this would be a JSON object. Okay. And then what I want to do is in here, function JSON current function. Okay, here we go. So we take this, we add, not add, we make, no, it's called field, that's what it is, set fields. Okay, so we set a field, we pass in our function name, and we pass in our function parameter. So this would be a JSON. So this would basically satisfy this whole thing right here. So our parameters would go in right here. Our parameters would be right here. And we're giving it a new name of whatever the function name is. I did not mean to do that. Then what we'd want to do is we want to get our function name. Set field, wait. No, I might be doing this wrong. Yes, I am doing this wrong. So hold on. Here. Here. Because that would put it within here. Okay. So at this point, it's basically a little something like function name with the parameters. Because I need to be able to visualize what I'm doing here. So right now, we're basically at this state. So then what we'd want to do, replicate, no, hold on, event graph. So here, you know, I have to think about this structure a little bit too now. Because I actually have a couple things, right? Because aside from having the server info, I also have one for player. And so I also need to add in one. And this basically gets created as more players get added into the server. So there's going to be some things that are specific to the player. So I actually need to change this a bit. You know what? Let's not worry about that for now. Let's just worry about the world stuff. Let's just worry about the world stuff and the functions. And then we can come back to that. Not me do that. Actually, you know what? No, this is going to behave a lot differently. Because actually I'm storing everything under its given name. So containing JSON. Okay. Yep. Okay. Okay. Nope. This works. This works. Hold on. I am going about this all wrong. Okay. So I'm going to take this out for a second. Get our function JSON. We're going to get field names. Length. Greater than 0. So if either of these is greater than 0, then we come through, we pass that through. Okay, yep. Okay, so that works. All right. And then before we actually pass it in, we'd actually want to set a field within here. That would be called functions. And that would take our function JSON, pass that in here. Actually, I'm just going to call this function instead of functions. Okay, and then the containing JSON gets passed in, and we send that across. Now, something else I have to do, because this might become a bit of a problem, I need to make sure that the functions actually get removed once they have been passed through, so they're not stored. So, where would I want to do that? I think I'd want to do that up here by the merge. So maybe in the JSON merge here. And I gotta think about how best to do this. You know what? I think I'm gonna leave it for now. Let's try this real quick and see how this comes out. So I'm gonna do this, because I need to see if this is actually working in the first place, because I need to make sure everything is actually being mirrored correctly. So let's do... Let's stop this for a second. Okay. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna run the server. Man, I'm a little hesitant to run the server on my desktop because I've had issues with that before. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to run it on my laptop. So let's do this. Because I don't know what it is about my desktop, but for some reason it has issues. That's source, server, and we make. Okay, so that's working. Let me get my IP real quick. Okay, and I actually did implement a tool that should at least make this a little bit easier. So we're gonna see if this works. Because I haven't used that tool in a while, so hopefully I didn't break anything when I was doing this. Okay, let me see. What is my IP here? It is... Actually, I should probably be doing this over my local IP, not this one. Let me see. I think I can actually get... CTL station 0. Does it show? Okay, so 94 is my IP address. Okay, so let's see if this works real quick. Fingers crossed. I'm wondering if I'm gonna have to package this real quick to run it. This might end up just erroring out. Yeah, it did. Damn it. Okay. Then we'll do this. I'm going to package it up real quick so we can test this. And then while it's packaging, we'll go and work on the ranged weapons. Because I took those out a while back when I decided to restructure the weapons. So we're going to remake the ranged weapons. Let's see how that goes. I should probably also have a look at this. I need to take some screenshots. That's kind of the only thing I'm missing right now for the Steam page. But I'm also a little hesitant because I am talking with the guy to see about getting some better models in the game. And I'm wondering if I should wait until I have those models before I take the screenshots. Like, this isn't the best game. It's not terrible. It's not like the worst looking, but it's not great. Like, this is not the best looking character here. All right, let's go ahead. Before we do that, I'm going to do this because I'm worried this might cause a bit of a crash if I do this in the wrong order. Okay, so weapon. Ranged, one hand, base. Oh, did I remake them? Oh. Let me just make sure it won't crash when I do this. Cool. Alright. Shouldn't take too long. I think I did this a while back, so hopefully it won't take too long or anything. We'll see. We'll just keep an eye on that. All right. So, our ranged weapon. So I'm actually going to put this into a different world. Just try and keep the theming a little bit similar. Let's put it in the future world. I'm just gonna drop a box in here with it for now. And by the way, it's not going to be this oversized. This is some weird thing going on with the mesh. I'm actually thinking I'll take out the skeletal mesh and do static mesh. I think I have a pretty good solution to kind of trick, to kind of trick it into looking like it's, like it's being fired without the need of any animations or anything. So, we'll try that. So all this needs to go. So I'm going to remove... Actually, let's do this. Static mesh. Let's just grab a cube real quick. Attach that there. Yeah, I know. We're taking all this out. This is all going. That can go as well. And that can go. Okay. All right. Now, grab this trigger. This can all go. Perfect. All right. So what we need to do here is let's just make this look a little bit like a gun first. I'm just going to shrink this down. It's going to look like a very simple gun for now. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking for this. So whenever we trigger, whenever we trigger, first things first, I actually need a spawn point for the bullet. So spawn this in. And I think actually this needs to be rotated 180. Because I think it's, if I recall, the red arrow is the forward vector. So I need to make sure that is where we spawn. Spawn actor from class. Bullet. Say always spawn, ignore collisions. We'll do base damage of 10. Get a reference to self. Cool. And then what we also want to do is we want to spawn a Niagara effect. Is it just spawn effect? There we go. I hate that it does this for emitters. So annoying. It's really not necessary either. Auto destroy, pooling method. Yep. I think I actually have one that we can use too. FX. I think this was one I threw together real quick. What am I going to use for multiplayer? I'm actually putting together my own multiplayer system. And that is what I am using. I don't know that I'd recommend it for everybody, but it's what I wanted to do because I wasn't able to achieve exactly what I wanted with the Unreal Engine multiplayer subsystem or any of the built-in Unreal multiplayer subsystems. So I'm going with my own that I'm building myself, which is actually why I have this building in the bottom corner so we can test this here in a second. Actually, what's that looking like? No. Oh, it's going to take forever. Oh, well. We'll worry about that in a second. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll use this one, this impact effect. Spawn. Is it an emitter or is it something else? Is it spawn system? That's what it is. Impact. There we go. Okay. System, not emitter. Location, rotation, scale. We'll do auto. Yep, all that's all right. Yeah. So in case you're curious, Vitality. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I basically have my own multiplayer system that I'm putting in. And that's how I'm doing it right now. It's mostly far along. If you want to figure out how to do something like this yourself, I would suggest looking at sockets, echo servers, and chat room, and like how to build your own chat room, because that's kind of what I ended up doing. Is looking a lot into those. Writing a UDP server in C++ that each client talks. Yeah, so it's not UDP. I don't think. I think I'm using TCP if I recall. Let me make sure I have that right real quick. Hold on. I think I'm using TCP actually. Let me double check. Where is SockStream? I think it's a TCP. Hold on. What? Oh. Socket. I think SockStream is, if I recall, is for TCP. SockStream, yeah, TCP socket, yeah. I'm using TCP. Here's the thing, right? I would not recommend using UDP. I tried starting out with UDP. It's a nightmare to do. I would not recommend it unless latency is absolutely of your most is like your top most concerning thing for any networking or anything. I would not recommend it. Yeah, so it's using TCP. Create UDP TCP server for Unity and thinking now to create a similar thing for Unreal. Yeah, UDP is basically fire and forget. TCP, you at the very least know everything is getting there in the correct order. UDP, there is no guarantee that everything gets there, and there's no guarantee that it's all going to get there in the exact order it was sent out. Does Unreal have built-in functions for sending custom packets from the client, or did you have to implement that yourself? So I've implemented myself. I tried looking around. I couldn't find any way for Unreal to do that. So what I actually ended up doing, I don't know if I still have the original code. I might be able to see real quick. What I did was I basically did a bunch of research on how to do on how to do multi-client connections to a single server, right? That's basically what I started out with, was just how do I get everything to communicate to a single server and have it echo down to multiple clients. And that's where I started out with. It was just text, and I didn't do anything beyond that point. Then what I did was I took that same code and I took the client code and I adapted it into Unreal Engine. So that's actually why I'm using a specific game mode. Is this game mode, I have all of that communication code in here for the client. It's a little weird because Unreal Engine has their own implementations of strings and vectors and characters and like all this different stuff. So I basically am taking the strings, because that's the main thing I really need, is I'm taking strings and adapting it from their I think they call it F string to a normal C++ string. It's not very difficult to do. It's literally just where is it? It's literally just this tchar to UTF-8, if I recall, because I believe that host IP, yeah, the host IP is an F string. It shows up as an error, but it works fine. I don't know why it shows up as an error. I think it's something weird going on with my VS Code or something. But yeah, I wasn't able to find any built-in solution in Unreal to be able to do something like that. The only problem for doing something like this that I have run into, and this might not be an issue if you're only targeting Windows or something like that, is Windows has their own socket library than, from what I can understand, any other device. So Android, Linux, Mac OS, and I believe even iOS all use like the same libraries, and for some reason Microsoft decided they need to have some special library for sockets. So Microsoft doesn't have the normal socket stuff, which is also why I have all these if-defs all over the place, is because I needed to implement their special stupid library in order to make it work. Because they're Microsoft, and for whatever reason they had to make things difficult. I actually need to double check that, because I don't know if all of my stuff is working correctly on Windows at the moment. I haven't checked it in a minute, so I probably need to check that here soon, just to make sure it's all working correctly. But yeah, the intention is that all this is going to allow for me to do like full cross-platform between any device that I want. So it'll work for Quest, it'll work for PC. I also want it to work for Linux. So basically I'm covering all the VR platforms. And hopefully it'll all work. I did start working on this a while back, and I did actually put out a, what's the networking like? I'm just using the standard sockets. If you look up C++ sockets, that's exactly what I'm using. It's built into it's a standard C++ library. Windows, however, uses what is it? WS2 TCP/IP, because they had to make things difficult. Absolute madman. Hey, I might be mad, but I've been enjoying this quite a bit, and I am learning quite a bit about how networking works. If this goes well, I would actually like to see about making this a more public project that other people are able to use too. Because what I would like to eventually do is have it so I can host, or players can host servers, and I want them all to communicate to sort of like a central server, I guess. So anybody can advertise their server on that central server and kind of get working. I need to make sure I'm very careful about that though, because I need to make sure that it's not going to be any sort of security risk or anything for players. So I need to be very careful about how I do that. I might hold off on that advertising thing until a little bit later, because I haven't quite figured out how to do that correctly yet. I understand usually you would use something like a NAT pass-through. I believe it's what it's called. But but I don't fully understand how that pass-through is supposed to work. From what I understand, you basically, both clients communicate to some central server. That central server says, okay, this is this person's IP. Okay, this is this person's IP. And they both try and communicate. It gets blocked. But I guess somehow by them starting that communication, it allows for them to eventually connect to one another, which is kind of weird. And I don't know how that fully makes sense. I think there's more to that I'm not understanding. But but that's something I would like to see if I can do eventually as well. Just to incorporate the multiplayer a lot easier. Okay. Set relative location. Set relative rotation. Okay. So I disabled the physics thing on my character's hands. It was causing a lot of performance issues. So what I'm going to do instead is we're basically going to make it look as though it's firing. So if we push this back, like minus 30. Okay. And then my thought is, well, I removed my event tick, so I need to bring that back. Okay, let's go ahead and bring that back forward. Rotation. If this is not equal to 0, 0. And we'll give it like a small little... actually, yeah, we'll give it a small amount of leeway. And what I can do later on is I can actually randomize this rotation. So maybe there's like a little bit offset to the X or Z axis. Actually, it'd probably need to be to the Z axis. Then we lerp rotator from this relative to 0, 0. We take our delta seconds and we multiply it by, I don't know, 0.1 maybe? No. Say by 2 maybe? Actually, let's just feed in the delta seconds. Let's see how that looks. Okay, we'll do shortest path. And then we take this. Set relative rotation. That should work. Okay. Okay, now I want to see something here real quick. Edit our physics grab. Yeah, I don't. Okay, let's do this then. Let's open up our bullet real quick because I want to make sure it won't collide with the player that fired it and it won't collide with the gun that fired it. So if it is not equal to that, let's see, this all I pulled out because that's not really necessary. Okay, and then what I need is a reference to the player, so owning player. Okay, and we'll just set this to a pawn. It's visible, exposed on spawn. Okay, we want to make sure that this is also not equal to that. So if it's not the gun that fired it and it's not the player that fired it, then we'll go ahead and let it go. And then so when we fire it, can take our physics grab. Get motion control. Not motion controller data. What did I call it? Oh, I set it to private. Yeah, I don't want that to be private. Controller. Get owner. Get the actor that owns this component. Perfect. You know what? Just so I don't have to cast, I'm just going to set that to an actor. Hello, Ravi. How you doing? Oh, this made it very unhappy. There we go. All right. Cool. And there is our player. Cool. So that should all work fine. I'm going to take away that gameplay tag container because I'm not using that anymore. That can all go. Cool. I think that'll all work. More VR plugins. That's why I use that a lot. Never touched Unreal till now. That is true. I'm pretty sure that Unity does have a lot more VR plugins than Unreal. That being said, I think Unreal has a lot more built-in plugins for VR. So right now I got a project for multiplayer. Is Unreal good? It depends on what you're trying to do. So if you wanted to learn about Unreal multiplayer, I'd suggest looking into things like replication, their dedicated servers, things like that. Here's the issue I've run into with a lot of Unreal's multiplayer stuff, okay? So just so you're aware, Ravi, I'm actually building my own. So I actually have, like, this is my server stuff right here right now. And it's not because Unreal stuff isn't good. It's because it wasn't able to do quite what I wanted it to do. Because I basically wanted everything to be seamless, and I want to be able to have it so players can join and there's no latency, no lag. They just drop into each other's worlds. That being said, if you're not trying to do something like that, because I understand why they don't do that now. It's not a bad... Unreal's multiplayer is not really bad or anything like that. The only complaint that I have when it comes to Unreal's multiplayer systems is I have not found a reliable way to get the Quest 2 to work with the most online subsystems that Unreal supports. I have gotten it to work with the dedicated servers. So if you're willing to host your own servers, or you know that there's also services you can use to host servers. It's not really bad or anything like that, but yeah, I know EOS at one point was supposed to support Oculus. They even still have it in their EOS, like when you config the Epic Online Services. They still have it in there that you can support Oculus, but I have never managed to get it to work. Oculus has their own, but I have never managed to get it to work in any capacity on any engine that I have tried. And Steam's, as far as I'm aware, Meta just completely blocks any Steam online subsystem, so I don't really know why, but that's my understanding. I haven't tried using it myself on Quest, but that's what I've heard. And so I could be completely wrong on that. So it's not bad. It works really well. I don't know what Unity's looks like. I believe they run off of Photon or something like that, from what I recall. And there is Photon support on Unreal Engine. The plugin though is paid though. I'm gonna be honest. And I haven't tried using the Photon plugin on the Quest 2 either. So I don't know like what headsets you're trying to support. If you're going for just PC VR, if you're going for a Quest, if you're going for a Quest and PC VR, my advice would be to at least do a little bit of research into Unreal's multiplayer stuff before you try, because it's not difficult to use by any capacity. Like, it's literally this, right? So if I did like a custom event, it's a little something like this, okay? So if I'm the client, run this on the server, right? If I want, I can run it reliably to tell it to go even faster, make it a priority. Then once it's on the server, then you multicast it down again reliably if it needs to happen quickly. And that's basically how Unreal Engine's multiplayer stuff works. It's literally just using events and changing the replication conditions. And that's about it. It's really that simple. For like components and things like that, there is literally a replication tick box, and that's all you hit. It works well for most actors. I have had issues with the motion controllers before and cameras, which are like the fundamental basics for Unreal VR characters. From what I understand, they were never intended to be able to replicate because most people don't see them. But, you know, now you kind of need them. So, yeah. But yeah, in my opinion, I like Unreal's multiplayer subsystems. I think it's a lot better than Unity's. But depending on your use case, it might not be for you. You might need to look at something else. Because I've had a lot of issues specifically with the Quest 2. And I don't know if it's just a Quest 2 issue or if it's an issue with like the engine that I'm using. So yeah. Let's see how this packaging is going. Ooh, wrong thing. It's about halfway through. Dang it, I'm ready to start testing this. I'm ready to start testing this, and I need to wait for it to finish packaging so I can. I'm assuming they've probably... Let me see some real quick. I'm assuming they've probably made updates to the 5.3 source build. I might want to see if I can't update it to see if it might fix some of my issues. I'm actually thinking about switching. I started using Hyperland on my laptop, and I actually quite like it. I'm a little hesitant to give it a shot on my desktop, though, because I understand Hyperland. I don't know if it's Hyperland or Wayland, but one of them doesn't work well on NVIDIA graphics cards, and that's what I use. Let's see. Last updated 12 hours ago. So, yeah, I might have to do that later. It's not something for right now. Truth is, I'm not satisfied with Unity graphics at all, but I heard a lot about Unreal graphics are too good. Yeah, you use Quest 2. So, I'll say this as well. Absolutely, Unreal graphics is going to, it's way, way better than Unity. I've used Unity before. I haven't used it in a few years, so I believe they've made some improvements since then. But I do always remember Unreal being better. That being said, here's what I'm going to say if you're using the Quest 2 and you're aiming for better graphics quality. You may not be getting it. All of the assets and stuff that I'm using here, so I've had to tune... Hold on. I have had to crazily tune down the quality of these materials in order to get a good performance on the Quest 2. So like the lighting, this may look like natural lighting. It's not. I have had to put this in myself. These are materials. I have put together my own like functions and stuff that take like a matte cap, and I have built my own materials that take light sources and point lights and things like that in order to get a good performance on the Quest 2. Unless you're using a directional light as your light source, and only a directional light, you might not be getting great performance on the Quest 2. I have gotten somewhat decent performance when using a point light and baking in the lighting on the Quest 2. But even that can sometimes be a little rough. So, yeah, a lot of my issues might honestly just stem from the fact that this is a procedural, this is a procedural game. And so I can't really use a lot of baked lighting or anything. Yeah, I agree with Polymer on that front, that Unity does have a lot of unnecessary community plugins, in my opinion. That was also part of the reason why I left Unity, or why I stopped using Unity, is because everything that I need is built into Unreal Engine. That being said, you're going to have a lot of difficulties with Unreal Engine. It's not... I'm not going to say it's not the easiest, because I would probably say that Unreal Engine is actually quite a bit easier to use than Unity. I think the problem when switching over to something like Unreal Engine isn't that it is more difficult. I think there's two things that tend to get a lot of new people. I think the first is that everything that you could possibly want is built into Unreal Engine, which means you have so much that you can possibly do that you would normally have to build in or find a plugin for in Unity. I think the second thing is that Unity, by comparison, has a lot more documentation and has a lot more general support than Unreal Engine does. Unreal Engine does have things like the forums, and it does have, there are tutorials for Unreal Engine and things like that. But I think by comparison, Unity tends to have a lot more in terms of support than Unreal Engine does. But all that support is provided mostly by the community. And so I see that as kind of an upside and a downside, in my opinion. But yeah, going back to the quality, yeah, you can get pretty good quality using Unreal Engine. A lot of people have. I believe Climb was actually built in Unreal Engine on Quest 2. I think Saints and Sinners was also built in Unreal Engine on Quest 2. There's a lot of really good looking games in Unreal Engine on Quest 2. I imagine it's not super easy to do. Because you are still, you do still have to keep in mind that you're building for a mobile device. So you're still very much limited by the hardware that you're using. I'm hoping, though, that the Quest 3 will kind of help out a lot with that, though. Hello, by the way, Abdul. Hope you're doing well. Speaking of which, I have to order the Quest 3 for myself. I think it's supposed to be coming out here in a couple months. When is... Since this is building anyways, I now have everything done. I'm just waiting for Unreal for the package now. Let me see this. Quest 3. I was looking for the official thing. Meta websites. Why can I not find the actual website? Hold on, is this a Brave issue? There it is. Here we go. Meta Quest 3. When does this release? 500. It just says coming this fall. There is what appears to be a little note or something, though. Oh, can you not pre-order it? That might be why I haven't gotten it, or why I haven't paid for it yet. I thought you could pre-order it for some reason. I did get... I'm actually very impressed. I got the Quest Pro controllers and I hooked them up to my Quest 2. I love them so much. They're so much better than the default Quest 2 controllers. If you ever have to make it just a simple upgrade to your Quest 2 and you have the money for it, I would absolutely recommend going for the Quest Pro controllers. The accuracy feels so much better. And honestly, I like that I can actually move my hands around without worrying about them being out of view of the headset. I had that problem a lot because I play a lot of Onward. And I had that problem where the way I do a lot of sniping and the way I hold my hands, I held my right hand so close to my head that I would lose tracking a lot. I don't have that problem anymore with the Quest Pro. Which is better, Unity or Unreal? I think that depends on you. In my opinion, I like Unreal better. I think it works better for what I do. Unity, however, does have a lot of great feature. I don't even know that I'd call it features. It has a lot of pros to it that Unreal Engine doesn't have. Unity... Here's how I like to think about it. Unreal Engine has everything that you could possibly need built into the engine. So if you're trying to do any sort of game development for any platform, you will be able to do it in Unreal Engine. That being said, Unreal Engine by comparison has a lot less tutorials and general community support in that sense, whereas Unity tends to have a lot more of that support, and anything that you would possibly need to do might not be built into Unity. You might have to use another plugin to do that. But to be fair, it'll usually be in their Unity asset store. Unreal Engine tends to have a lot higher quality than Unity. Unity tends to be a lot better for flat screen or 2D games. Unreal Engine is absolutely freaking massive compared to Unity. So yeah, I would, if you're kind of looking at trying both, I would kind of say try them both, see which one you like better. I think a lot of people tend to get a little bit overwhelmed because Unreal Engine can do everything. So they look at like all the different things that you can possibly do, all the different blueprints you can bring in. You know, I think some people are a little bit intimidated because you can do C++ programming in Unreal. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Unity now has a drag and drop system like this. I might be wrong, but maybe that was a plugin that I'd seen. But I think Unity might have a drag and drop plugin. If they don't, then it's just coding in C#, which, to be fair, it's not difficult to do. It's just not everybody's cup of tea, I think. I made a VR shooter game where you hold a gun with two hands. I noticed when using my Valve Index with their controllers, pointing my gun up in the sky, it would wonk out a little. However, doing the same thing on Quest 2 and their controllers, this issue doesn't happen. My gun holding code is no different. Any ideas why this happened? I mean, if you're holding it straight up, that kind of makes sense, to be honest. Yeah, we go a little wonky. My assumption would be that... So my assumption, I'm assuming you're probably doing something like find look at rotation to find that rotation. If you are, I believe different controllers have slightly different orientations in Unreal Engine's view. That could potentially be why. What I would kind of recommend doing is if you're using the find look at rotation, I would actually use the find look at rotation just to find like what direction to orient the gun at, but to rotate the gun like left and right, you know, that direction, I would actually bind that only to one hand's rotation. So like if I rotate my hand this way, the gun would rotate this hand regardless of what the front hand would be doing. If my hand rotated this way, I'd rotate the whole gun this way regardless of what this front hand rotation does. If you look at a lot of shooters, that's the way that they typically do shooters because that is going to be a problem. The find look at rotation does not work very well if you're pointed straight up and sometimes even if you're pointed straight down. So I would, if you look at a lot of shooters, typically they do that. They'll have it bound to one hand for that rotation. I think it already does that. The roll only comes from the holding controller. If you're already doing that, maybe the relative look at rotation locations could be different between controllers. I mean, the only other thing I could think of doing as well is it might not be what you would want to do because I kind of get the feeling you might be doing it sounds like the gun's not attached. The only other thing I could think to do is to maybe attach the gun to your primary hand. That's kind of what I'm doing right now. I just kind of have it attached to a primary hand. The recoil is going to be I set to rotation. Actually, I probably need to lerp that to rotation. I'll see how that goes. But yeah. Yes, drag and drop system in via scripting and also plugin. In Unity Bolt is visual scripting like Unreal Engine. Yeah, is Bolt what it was called? Yeah, I've never used their visual scripting thing. I've only done that here in Unreal Engine because it's a lot quicker. So, no problem, Ethan. Good luck with that. All right. Let's see how the log's looking. Ooh, almost done. So far along. For VR game. I'm assuming, Abdul, you're going back to the question about Unreal versus Unity. If you want my personal opinion, I would honestly recommend Unreal Engine for VR. Like I said, Unreal Engine tends to be slightly higher quality. If you plan on doing any multiplayer stuff, I know Unreal has that built in. I don't know if Unity does. Honestly, Unreal Engine has a lot of the VR plugins that you would probably need built in. That being said, if you're not really used to game development or programming or anything like that, I would honestly recommend just sticking with Unity for a little while and learning the basics, because Unity will get a lot more help from the community than with Unreal Engine, because there's a lot more tutorials and things like that for you. If you run into any issue, chances are in Unity, someone's already run into that issue and has posted the solution somewhere online, and you just have to find it. And Unreal Engine, I found that the solution may be out there, but you might have to be looking for hours at a time in order to find that solution. But even then, I find that Unreal Engine, you typically don't find that solution isn't always out there. I think a part of that too might just be because there's different people use C++ and different people use blueprints. I think I've kind of seen that a lot, where a lot of people are like, oh, you can do this in C++ and get this to work. But then the person who asked the question is going, well, I'm not comfortable using C++ and I don't really want to. How do I do it in Blueprint instead? And they're like, oh, it's not an option. You do it in C++ or you don't do it at all. Because there are certain things like that. There's certain things that there isn't a Blueprint equivalent. It's just an Unreal Engine. It's not a lot. It's usually experimental features. But it does happen periodically. Like, I've seen that happen where people are like, oh, I don't want... my project's currently entirely Blueprints. How do I do in Blueprint instead? And the answer is you don't, because it doesn't exist. You build it for Blueprint yourself, or you go into C++ and you do it. And honestly, the C++ solution is usually going to be easier. Can't you just nativize it? So, are you talking about the nativization? I'm assuming that's what you're talking about. Nativization, I think, is just for packaging. Is there an option to nativize a blueprint? Let me see here. I just grabbed one real quick. Let's grab this one. Oh, there is a C++. I did not know that. I did not know that. Interesting. Well, now I know that. Thank you for sharing that, Ethan. I was not aware that was a thing. Yeah, the nativize in Project Settings, I think that's just for packaging though, isn't it? Because I remember that was something that they'd introduced. Because Blueprint now, honestly, it's pretty much on par with C++ in terms of performance. You're losing like maybe 1 or 2% of performance. But I remember that's why this used to exist, because it used to be like a 30 or 40% difference if you did Blueprint over C++. And nativization was supposed to convert those blueprints into C++, so you'd get a closer. Sorry about that. So that way you'd get a closer to. You'd get more performance out of your project without needing to do all the C++. I think they might have actually taken that out of the project settings. I think that's now just a built-in thing or something. Yeah, I don't see the nativization settings anymore. I actually have not looked at that in quite a while. Hold on. Unreal Engine nativization. You know, 420. I remember it was in there in 427. I think they might have removed it in Unreal Engine 5. Maybe not. No, because there's visual scripting. Hold on. I can't find the settings in... Or maybe they moved it. Hold on. Oh yeah, here we go. Why was Blueprint nativization removed? No code preaching. I experimented several times with BP nativization on pure BP objects, and the performance boost each time was awesome. really excited to use BP nativization for actual releases, and then I see in the UE5 notes that BP nativization was removed. There have been no meaningful changes to the Blueprint runtime that would improve performance. I assume they just deleted it since it was too difficult to maintain, kept bugging out on more complex projects. Oh, blueprints. Honestly, I understand the bugginess. I had a few issues with nativization before as well. Wait, was Valorant made in Unreal Engine? I did not know that. Yeah, I can understand them removing it. I had a lot of I had issues here and there with Blueprint nativization as well. Oh no. What happened? Let's see, were there any others? Some warnings. Oh, wait. Hold on. What was this in? Compiler. Weapon ranged body. Hold on. Oh, that's right. I was gonna do that. Let's... Honestly, I'm just gonna remove these. Let's try that. Yeah, it was pretty finicky. Hello, not Doppel. Yeah. It was finicky, but when it worked well. I think honestly they did, and if I recall, they ended up improving Blueprint to the point though where nativization didn't really make any difference. I think I'd seen I thought I'd seen that somewhere that it was improved to that point in Unreal 5. Maybe I gotta go back and remake all this Blueprint stuff in C++. Oh my god, that would be a nightmare. Yeah, you might want to double check. I thought I'd read that somewhere that someone had run a performance test, and I think it was like a YouTube video or something I'd seen that there was almost no difference now. Like you were looking at like 1 to 2% performance decrease in Blueprint, and that was about it. Because I remember it at least used to be a drastic difference in performance. Actually, when I started using Unreal Engine, we used C++ mostly for that reason, was for the performance benefit. God dang it. Why is it exiting now? Let's see, was there any more errors this time around? You know what? This might actually be why I've been having problems. I've had issues where the Quest 2 version that I've been running keeps crashing. This might actually help me answer why. Signal 6 caught. Let's look at the logs real quick. Guess it's time to bite the bullet and learn C++ already. I mean, hey, C++ isn't so bad. Let's see here. Is this it? I think this might be it. Oh, there it is. Okay, well this answers the question why my Quest 2 version hasn't been working. Apparently I did something wrong somewhere in the project. I just don't know what it is. Oh. Oh. Damn it. Oh, I bet that's what it is. Oh my god. It's because I started cleaning out the project about a week ago and I didn't finish. I'm willing to bet something in my project is busted right now. Frick. Oh man. Alright guys, let's go clean in the project. Now I gotta do this. This is gonna be a nightmare. Let's remove the metahuman stuff. This is what I get for leaving my project all messy. I know I got this, but it takes forever. Look, it's still waiting so I can actually delete this folder. The only way I can kind of go around this is if I manually start going into the content directory and deleting it all, but then I know I'll break something. This way it'll at the very least tell me somewhat what I'm breaking. Well, this ended up being a fun stream. Do I still have the server running on my laptop? I think I do. I do. I still have the server running on my laptop. Oh. Oh no, is this gonna take down the stream? Okay, in case the stream stops, because this very well might end up doing that. You guys will at least know why. The music stopping is not giving me a lot of confidence that this isn't going to crash.